about us that they released Snowguard. All right, so I'm gonna quickly give you guys a rundown on like how I'm gonna be rating these, and so must buy so big bad are cards that like you have to be competitive, or they're the cards that don't drop, right? So obviously all the big bads are gonna be there. I'll talk about like the differences between them, um, and the must buys are cards like when Darkhawk was in Pool 5, right? It was the best card during the Zabu season. But I think if it's not at that level, I'm not going to put it there. Great buys are going to be something you're not sad about buying. It either defines the whole deck archetype or it fits into multiple different deck archetypes. Ideally, some combination of both. Solid buys are going to be something that really helps make a lot of decks competitive. It's just like a good card. Mid buys are going to be something that's like pretty niche. It's fun to play, but I would not recommend buying. Honestly, solid buys I would probably be iffy on buying or not, unless it's for your favorite deck. Yeah, Darkhawk and Knull will be pool 3, I know. As will Silver Surfer and one other one. Silver Surfer. Sentry, yeah. And then Dumpster Fire is cards that you shouldn't buy ever. You're actually sad to open these on the collection track. Putting these in your deck is actively bad most of the time, even if they have some edge cases where they're useful. It's just pulled Ghost, yeah. Ghost probably falls under here. Yeah, Ghost is actively bad for most decks that you put her in. I'm also a Ghost opener. It happens. As far as Shadow King, pre-buff Shadow King, definitely. But yeah. Alright, and then this goes all the way up to June, so I'm going to do those ones last. So hold on, let me just organize this. Because obviously I haven't seen those cards be played yet, so those will be kind of like a prediction. It'll be my prediction for those cards. Where is... I know I missed one. Yeah, Nebula. Okay. Yeah, you gotta save boxes before drop. Alright, let's start. Alright, first we got Darkhawk. Darkhawk, I think, goes into great buys. It's one of the strongest cards in the game, even post nerf, for Zabu and Darkhawk. The Darkhawk package, I've been playing a lot of different things, and it's always very strong. It makes the bounce deck playable. I would not be like, this would be something I would buy for sure. It does drop to Series 3 next month, so keep that in mind if you're thinking about buying it. But honestly, it's still a month. Like, it's such a good card. Alright. Next, we have Dazzler. She's currently Series 4. I did open her Series 5, and I can tell you that she's Dumpster Fire tier. I've tried to make her work. The best thing that I could make her work in was in a Patriot shell. And even there, I think I would rather run the Thing. So that gives you the power level of Dazzler. Alright. Next we have Galactus. Galactus is a big bad, so he'll go into big bad tier. He does have a whole deck archetype that runs around him. A couple of deck archetypes, actually. Lots of people give this card some hate, but it is a very interesting, unique deck. And also this season, I got a chance to play a lot of Captain Kerr's negative Galactus list, which was lots of fun. It's a very unique card. It's a big bad. It never decreases, so you're never going to be unhappy with your investment. I don't think it's the best big bad, but it's definitely not the worst. Where would he go if he wasn't a big bad? Probably great buys. Great or solid. Probably great, honestly, yeah. It's a competitive deck archetype. Alright. Next we have Ghost. Ghost just downgraded to Series 4. She's actively bad in pretty much any deck except for like the Valkyrie Zoo style deck. And even there, you usually don't have priority anyways. So you're just running a Misty Knight that doesn't get buffed by Patriot. And that you can't play into the sandbar location. So, yeah. I also opened Ghost recently. Luckily not in Series 5 and Series 4. But I've yet to use her in a deck because there's just nothing that she fits into. Alright, next we have this month's Season Pass card, Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey is really fun. There are some few deck archetypes that are built around him. I do think that he goes into solid buy tier though. Not great buy. And as much as I like the card, there are certain strategies that completely shut him down, and he doesn't feel like oppressively strong. He's solid. It dies to Sandman, it dies to Wave, but it is a really good card for Bounce and Sarah. However, those aren't like top tier decks, so I can't put it into anything above solid. All right, next we got Jeff. Jeff is the most recent Series 5 card that I bought. Very, very fun card to play. Great animation and flavor. Just solid buy. Unfortunately, while I have had a ton of fun with Jeff, probably my favorite Series 5 that I've bought outside of Thanos. He's let me play Miles in a lot of decks with just him and Polaris. But those still aren't like the best things that you can be doing in the game. So I can't put it anything above solid. It's gonna be a great alternative to running like Lizard and Armor in a lot of decks when he drops down eventually. But he's not something that you need to be competitive. Alright. Next we have Kang. Kang is a big bad, he never downgrades, so he does go into the top tier. However, I do think he is the worst big bad. He just helps you lose less cubes essentially. So the best use I found for him was in the Galactus archetype, where oftentimes you need to see if your opponent has counterplay to your Galactus, so that you can decide if you want to Galactus or Destroyer. In the case I was using him, and in my deck as well, I also had the ability to do turn 6 Galactus, so deciding which one I wanted to set up for turn 5 or turn 6 was very important. Outside of that, he's just kind of an extra card that you'd put in there. Yeah, if he was in Big Bad, I think I would put him in a mid. I agree. But yeah, he's a very unique card, but he's not really a card, he just adds to any deck. Alright. And you're not missing anything out by not having him. Alright, so next we have Kitty Pryde. If it was pre-nerf Kitty Pryde, I think she would be great buy. However, they are nerfing her quite a bit. So I do think she drops down to... It's hard to say before playing her. Either solid or mid. I think I'll be optimistic and I'll put her solid for now. Yeah, she also is free, so everyone will get her anyways. So yeah, we'll get to see how useful she is. I think she'll be borderline now. So yeah, if you don't know, they're changing her wave interaction is the main thing. And also you have to play her on turn 6 for her to stay down. So yeah, card you get. Well, it's a tier list, okay. Yeah, it's technically not a buy because you don't buy it. But alright. Next we have Knull. So Knull is an interesting card to rate because it's a great buy for Galactus. However, outside of that, it's like really bad in Destroy. Like it's mid and Destroy archetypes. So I think I'll put it in solid because of that. It's really, really good. Like if you want to play a Galactus deck, you need to play Knull. It's how you win. Not even just with Galactus, it's how you win when you destroy her off your Doctor Octopus and fight for the other 2 lanes. Yeah. I think that's literally the only deck. Don't play it in Destroy archetypes. It's really bad in there. So. Alright. Next we have Master Mold. I actually don't have experience playing this card, but I did watch a lot of Dara streams with this. This does seem like a really decent card. I think I will put it in Solid Buy, probably near the top of Solid Buy alongside Hitmonkey. It does enable you to play like a Ronin Master Mold style of deck, which I think will definitely, lots of people will explore once he drops down to Series 4. All right. Next we got MODOK. MODOK is Series 4 now, or Series 5 now. I think this is actually a great buy. So MODOK enables discard to be competitive. So yeah, if you didn't know, discard used to be a very underplayed archetype. Pretty bad, honestly. But if you want to play discard, you need to get MODOK. It's so good. And okay, I should also clarify, this is the Apocalypse Dracula style of discard decks, not Hela. So yeah, those decks are really good. I think those are really competitive. Yeah, it's just a good deck. Like, it's a great buy to get. It enables the archetype to be good. All right, next we have another card that I don't have experience with that came out, which is Negasonic. It came out the same month as Master Mold. This, I think, is a mid-buy from what I've seen, and just from the card effect herself. It seems like a really fun card to play around with, but I just don't see the usefulness of the card in a competitive setting. Like, it's a fun mind game card, but like a lot of the times you're just gonna end up trading her, especially now that Shuri is less popular. You're just gonna trade it with like a 1-drop from your opponent or something like less important. So fun, but I would definitely not recommend ever buying it. All right, next we have last month's season pass card, which is Nimrod. Nimrod, I was surprised by the amount of content creators that didn't play around with Nimrod. Because if you didn't know, they released stats for how many games of Nimrods that you played. And lots of people, especially content creators, didn't posted their stats with like 2 or 5 Nimrod plays or something. So I played Nimrod a lot, but I can definitely say it's mid. And I'll tell you why. I played Nimrod a lot with Galactus, like a turn 6 kind of style Galactus deck, where you had the option to either Galactus or Destroyer. And I think it's actually pretty decent. But the card itself doesn't really enable it. And Shuri also got nerfed, which I think made this strategy a lot worse. So I haven't actually played it since the Shuri nerf. So you used to be able to Shuri, Nimrod, Galactus, or Destroyer. You'd get like either 20 power in one lane or 25 split, 35 split across the board. So there might be something that emerges with Nimrod at some point, maybe with Negasonic, right? So you have something that proactively activates your Nimrod, but I think it's too early to say. I definitely can't recommend people to buy it. All right, next we have Sauron. Sauron seems like a very interesting, unique card. However, the deck archetypes, and I talk with Zinade a lot, so I haven't actually played Sauron myself, but Zinade's a player who plays like only Sauron, and he hangs out in my chat a lot. But it's not very good currently. Red Skull nerf really hit the deck, so you can only pretty much play it as like an enabler for the Ebony Maws and try and do something that way. But even in that deck, Sauron's not like the big winner there. So I think we're gonna keep it in mid. All right, next we have a card that was actually buffed recently to be a 4/10, Sentry. Sentry, lots of people have been playing recently. I'm putting it in dumpster fire. This might be controversial, but I've tried a ton of Sentry decks since the OTA changes, and not a single one of them could I say that running Viper and Hood in my deck because I wanted to occasionally send over the Void was worth it. Over the biggest killer to this card is the first line that says you cannot play this at the right location. It's terrible. You'd think that it doesn't affect that many games, but it does. Like, it turns those games into auto loses if you can't interact with the right location for a number of reasons. So it's terrible. Do not buy this. Be sad if you open it on the track. All right, next we have Shadow King. Shadow King is a card which also got buffed alongside Sentry to be a 3/3 with some value against like the Hitmonkey style of deck. I still think that he is dumpster fire. I think it's like there's rarely occasions where the tech of Shadow King is worth it. And why are you buying such a niche tech card, right? There's no reason that you should buy this. All right. Next we have Shanna. Shanna, I think, is a good card. We're actually going to put her in solid buy. Shanna has some really interesting interactions. I do think she needs a slight buff, so hopefully they will give it to her main body. All right, see ya, Pulse Glazer. But yeah. And so, okay, she's borderline mid-buy, I should qualify. But I did get the chance to play Jet with some very interesting lists that he was running with Shanna. And she was the big winner in those lists. Like, her herself is very strong. But the issue is the decks that you build her around are kind of weak. So I think I will have to move this to mid-buy. Right? Running a Kazoo style deck is bad. As strong as Shanna is herself. So maybe eventually if they change... yeah, definitely MODOK over Hitmonkey Gap. If they eventually buff Shanna, aka nerf Killmonger, maybe then she'll be good. Alright, next we have Silver Surfer. My second favorite deck of all time playing this game was the original Silver Surfer decks. Unfortunately, definitely a mid-buy. I've been trying to make it work. Surfer's actually performing pretty well tier list wise, but when I play it myself, you're only winning because of the tech cards in the list. The power from Surfer is like negligible now. I cannot recommend anyone to buy this card, and I love this card. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's not an interesting deck anymore. All right. Next we have another one I skipped from this month, which instantly goes into dumpster fire. We have Snowguard. Snowguard I was actually considering buying up until the devs talked about what locations you could use Snowguard on. And as it turns out, you can barely use her on any locations. Like, all the cool interactions you think of, Murder World, like, literally, like, what would you call it? Like, TVA, like, all of these things, turn-based interactions, you cannot use her on. And her ignore locations doesn't work till the end of the game. So she's dumpster fire tier. She does have S tier animations, but that's not good enough, unfortunately. And this is combined on the fact that you can't choose what version she's in. So not only do her abilities suck, you can't decide which sucky ability you want to use on a given turn. Which means if you do have a chance to use her on a good location and a good timing where it fits into your curve, she might not be the form you want. And she's just a 1/2. Sad. All right, next we have Stature. This is something I opened recently. I was a little bit skeptical, honestly, of her at first. I think she is goodbye. Stature is very good in my opinion. Um, a 1/7 is so strong. Being able to do like Stature plus a 5-drop on the last turn, or wave into Stature plus something. It's so good. It's really good. It dodges Killmonger. It dodges Shang-Chi. Very fun. But yeah, she's just a stat stick. All right, next we have Stegron. One that just came out this week. Actually today, I think like 24 hours ago. Can I put this? Yeah. Stegron Dumpster Fire. It's a 4/5. 4/5 stats are below average, right? If you look at the four cost tiers cards, the 4/5s, it's like Omega Red, Drax, and those have arguably Drax has a better ability than Stegron, right? Compare Stegron to Polaris. Polaris is a 3/5 that moves a specific card, right? A specific type of card. Sure, there'll be cases where Stegron is better, but is that worth putting a below average statted card in your deck? I doubt it. All right. Now here we have my favorite card from this tier list, which is Thanos. Thanos sparked up a huge variety of good decks. From Thanos Lockdown to Thanos Zoo to Lockjaw Thanos, which ravaged for a while. He did get nerfed a ton over this time. He's still fun. He still provides the most unique deck archetype in the game. It's fun to draw cards and play stones. It's flavor thematic. There's no better card to buy in this game, in my opinion. It's just like everything you want from a card. So it's good. Like, yeah, if you want to see Thanos gameplay, come on my stream. I literally play him every day. I have like on my YouTube channel, you can see I have like hours of Thanos gameplay on the channel, much less outside of it. So, all right. Next we have Zabu. Zabu I put in great buy. The Zabu nerf that they did, right? So if you didn't know, originally Zabu was a 3-cost 2-power unit that reduced the cost of 4-drops by 2. Extremely oppressive. Would have been a must buy at that point. They did the slickest nerf you could to the card. They reduced her down to a 2-cost that reduces 4-drops by 1. Still very strong. Still enables a lot of deck archetypes like Darkhawk, and like the Dino style list or negative. And she feels fair. So it's a great buy. Like Sarah will run it sometimes. It's a good 2-drop. It's below stats, but it provides you that little bit of tempo to cheat out a 4-drop on 3. And you're no longer double Spider-Manning people on turn 5. So very fair. All right. So next we're going to go into the cards that will be released in May. So do keep in mind that the abilities for these cards aren't confirmed yet. They are kind of set, I think, because the patch, they don't do any more patches until then. However, nobody's got a chance to play these cards, so these are very much my predictions, right? So from now on, these cards are my predictions for how good they are. So my opinion might change when I play them or see other people play them, but until then, I'll give you guys my predictions for these, yeah? All right, first we have Nebula. Nebula is a 1/1, so if you haven't seen Nebula before, I'll see if I put these up on screen and post too. She's a 1/1. If your opponent doesn't play a card at this location, gain +2 power, except for the first turn that you play her here, right? So essentially how that will work is, say you play her turn 1, She won't gain any power even if your opponent doesn't play there. But if they don't play there on turn 2, she'll gain 2 power. If they play her on turn 3 at her location, she won't gain power, and so on. This means she can be upwards. If they never play at her location, you play her on turn 1, she can go up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She can go up to a 111, right? And if they fill the location, she's a 1-5, right? Like if they play it 1 at a time, which is very good. So she's very powerful if you drop her at 1. However, you don't even need to drop her at 1, right? If you drop her on like turn 4 with a 3 drop, you're forcing your opponents to play into that location, or else you're gonna be ahead in it. Edit out the counter. Yeah, sure. Maybe. I am trying not to put this in must buy. I think I'll put her into great buys, and here's why: because she's a really bad top deck. She's gonna be a 1/1 if you draw her on turn 5 or 6, basically. So that is a little bit sketchy part of her. It's unlike something like Sunspot. You can't like play her on turn 5 and skip and have her be like a 1/4. I do think she'll be a staple 1-drop, kind of similar to Sunspot, but going into a more kind of like control style deck where you want to like force your opponents to play into certain lanes, right? She has a similar effect. I'll compare her to Lizard, right? Lizard makes your opponents want to fill his location, and that's why he's strong. I think her effect is stronger. All right, next we have Iron Lad. So Iron Lad is a 4/6, has the text of the top card in your deck. I'm gonna make a prediction here. I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. I'm gonna say he's gonna be a must buy. Unless they reduce the power of him, I think he is the strongest 4-drop in the game. So people are gonna say like, oh, you need Howard the Duck or whatever in his deck. No, put him in a deck where every card effect is a good thing to hit. Put him into your Lockjaw deck where it's gonna hit Doctor Doom or Jubilee most of the time. He is so good. I'm gonna put him into Galactus and Galactus people on turn 4 with no ramp. So it's like most of the time you're playing a deck with good cards, right? Put him into Darkhawk Dino. Everything in Darkhawk Dino is good to hit off Iron Lad, right? He's a 4/6. 4/6 is premium stats for a 4-drop with a beneficial ability, right? So in the Dino deck, you can have the Dino ability, the Darkhawk ability. You can add rocks to your opponent's decks. Yeah, you can play him with Zabu. I think they're going to have to tone down this card because he just seems way too good. But I'm looking forward to playing him. All right, next we have Howard the Duck. So Howard the Duck is a 1/2. He reads tap to see the top card of your deck. This is a reasonable ability because you get info that your opponent doesn't get, and you can combo it with Iron Lad, and they recently changed Jubilee, so Jubilee will pull from the top card. However, in any Howard the Duck deck, he's the worst card to get with Iron Lad or Jubilee. And at the end of the day, your card draw is pretty consistent anyways, so you don't really need to know the top card of your deck. Like, the info is pretty weak. So I think he's going to be mid. I don't think he'll be actively bad. It is possible he'll be actively bad. And the reason is because they did change Chavez to not go to the top of your deck anymore. She starts at the bottom, which does bring up the stocks of Howard the Duck and Iron Lad, because you do want to run Chavez when you run Iron Lad and Howard the Duck every time in order to get them early on. But yeah, I think he's just going to be mid. All right. Next, we have High Evolutionary, another really interesting card. He unlocks the secret abilities of your cards with no abilities, right? So these are Wasp, Shocker, Cyclops, Thing, Abomination, Hulk, and Misty Knight. I think so. Lots of people are speculating he'll be a big bad. I think even if he's not a big bad, he has a power level similar to Thanos, as in it unlocks a whole new type of play with him, right? Like you don't have to use all those cards in the same deck. Is something you can just use the good ones and make some very interesting deck archetypes. And similar to Iron Lad, he has above premium stats, right? He's the only 4-drop above 6 power that has a positive effect. Yeah, I believe the next closest is like Crossbones, which has a really negative effect, right? So as a card, he's not detrimenting your deck, and he opens up a whole new deck archetype to play. So definitely a must buy. All right, now next we'll go to the last card released for May. We have Living Tribunal. So Living Tribunal is a 6/4 ongoing, split your power across all locations. I was really looking forward to this card. This has been data mined since launch. I think he's mid borderline dumpster fire. Unless I'm completely missing a certain deck archetype, he seems to be the best in ongoing, like with like doing some kind of onslaught Iron Man combo. Maybe you can run this in Mr. Negative. It could be a good alternate Mr. Negative win condition, but Mr. Negative is so bad. So as I will be getting this card, I will be playing with it because it's fun, but it's very unlikely that it will make a good archetype. It's a 6/4. I think even at some point it was the 6/3. I'm not sure what stats it will release with. It's really weak. It's really weak. Like you in this game, you only need to win 2 locations. So splitting across 3 is only ever good if you're trying to surprise your opponent, really. All right, I think that's it for the May cards. So let's go into the June cards now. So these are definitely even less confirmed than the May ones. However, the cards should come out. Just their abilities might change in stats, maybe. Probably most likely just the stats. First, we have Ghost Spider. She is a 2/3 that reads, move the last card you played here. This, I think, goes into great buys pretty easily. Borderline must buy. She's a must buy if you want to play move. So she will be a season pass, which is really nice. Assuming that her ability works, as in you play a card into the left lane, you play her into the right lane, and the card in the left will move to the right lane, she'll be the enabler that move is missing, right? Move is really just missing another card to move your torch, your dagger, your vulture, right? That's what that deck needs, is another Doctor Strange. And she's arguably better because she's 2/3. That's much more easy to target. So yeah, assuming her tech stays the same and her stats stays the same, I think people might get to the point where they complain about move being too strong. So very strong card. All right. Next we have Spider-Ham. He is a 1/1. Turn your opponent's highest cost card into a pig. So this means it gets rid of all the text. However, it maintains your mana cost and stats. I think he's going to be borderline solid to mid. As strong as the effect appears to be, right? It's going to be a stronger Iceman effect. He is a 1/1, which is really weak. I'm pretty sure if you bounce him, it's going to hit the same card over and over, unless like they have multiple 6-drops. If that's not true and it will hit different cards, he might be borderline OP. But the stats and the effect don't really justify it. Like, it's going to be really good in certain matchups. but that doesn't make it a great buy. All right. Yeah, luckily she's a pass card for sure. That's like the best one out of the June cards to be a pass card. All right. Next we have Spider-Man 2099. This is an interesting one to rate. So he's a 4/5 that reads destroy an opponent's card when you first move it. I think I might have got that text wrong slightly. But yeah, basically when you move it, it will destroy a card in the location the first time it moves. So you won't be able to move it multiple times and clear out your opponent's board. But he will be kind of like a Shang-Chi for move decks, like a better version of Shang-Chi, right? Or maybe a better version of Gambit. But a 4/5 is reasonable stats. And being able to Gambit a specific location is very strong. He might be a great buy. I think with Ghost Spider and him synergizing so well, there might be some interesting tempo kind of move deck that you can build of him. Right? Like, I don't think you put Spider-Man 2099 into... Like, he probably also goes into your classic Heimdall move decks. But, like, even just, like, a move deck with, like, Ghost Spider and Doctor Strange, it sounds like he could be, like, the superstar there. And just, like, nuking, like, your opponent's 4-drop or something. Right? You might have to start running armor to dodge him if he becomes popular. So, borderline solid, maybe great. We'll keep him in great. All right. Next, we have Silk. Silk's a 2/5 whose text read, anytime anyone plays a card here, move to another location. The only other 2/5 in the game is Lizard. Lizard is the best 2-drop in the game currently. Silk is better. Silk doesn't get reduced if your opponent fills the location. Silk does have the downside that she could end up where you don't want her. But are you ever unhappy unless there's like a bar with no name on the board? Like, if she goes into Sanctum, you're extremely happy. She's a 2/5. You can put her into Sarah and fill the board, and you can determine where she stays. I think she's the premier 2-drop in the game. There's nothing better. And she synergizes with Kraven really well and all the other... Yeah, I guess Kraven's the main one she synergizes well with. So maybe you could run some kind of Sarah deck with Kraven, Silk, Ghost Spider as the only move cards. And Spider-Man 2099. She can move into Fist Tower. Yeah, okay. She does die to Fist Tower. But that's fine. Yeah. All right. I think this would be my tier list from now and for the future. Hope you guys enjoyed my thought process there. All right. Let's go see if Snap works.